Do you have any queries regarding the previous part of the presentation? Okay, let us move forward. Just a quick recap. We were talking about VAPT, that is vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. People call it vulnerability assessment, people call it penetration testing, some are calling it ethical hacking, some are calling the same service as offensive security. So I have cleared the concepts. What is the difference, slight difference between them, but more or less a same service. People are looking to find vulnerabilities in their web applications, mobile application, network devices, and so on. So this is basically the VAPT service. Previously, we have talked about VAPT of web applications, how we do it, and now we will let us see. Just have a go through. I think we have done VAPT of. Um, can you please tell me that do we have completed the VAPT of web applications in the last session?
Yes, sir, you have delivered this part.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much. Now let us start with mobile applications. So, uh, you know, uh, people, I always, as I already told you, that people think that VAPT is something, there is a tool and you can press a button and then you can generate a report. So I want to clarify that concept though, as like if you want to become a penetration tester and you want to be expert in this field, you should know that you should know how the component is being made. Like for example, if you want to do or learn VAPT web application, then it is not like learning tools. Tools is a part of the process, but it is like actually learning the application development process, web application designs. Similarly, if you want to test mobile applications, you want to do VAPT mobile applications, then you have to understand how these applications are being developed. And the more skillful you become, the more knowledge you have about the different components of the mobile application. So, uh, based on this concept, let us move forward. Let us see. So, you know, mobile applications are basically Android application and iOS applications. So, these are two applications. I have made an architecture level diagram of them. These applications will be running over either Android operating system or iOS operating system. And um, normally in your mobile phones, in your Android, either in Android or iOS, you have mobile application use the SQLite DB to store if they want. The application is like that it want to store some information in the mobile phone, then they could store this information in SQLite DB. So what we have seen while doing pen testing of mobile applications, we see applications are storing data in SQLite database. So this is a part of the bundle. So Android APK, I've written APK because uh, Android applications are in .apk format. Although as a normal user you install them from the store, but you don't see the extension. But if from a pen tester perspective, we see the application, they are in the .apk format. And the IP applications, to download them from their stores. But if you learn pen testing, then you will see that these extension of these applications is .ipa file. So these are .apk and .ipa files, and this is the view of the application that we see. And we start pen testing from .apk file or .ipa file. So for a normal user, they just download the applications from the store. So this is the APK part, this is the IPA part, and the operating system could be Android and iOS, and there could be multiple versions of Android and iOS, and this is an ever-growing field. So this is the part of the design that is uh, that is in your mobile phone. Okay, you have an application, and that could be a broad level diagram which could be made of that how application what is the application and where on which platform application is running and the supporting components like SQL DB. So just clear your mind about this architecture. Don't think application is just an interface and just clicking. If you want to learn VAPT and you want to become pen tester, you want to you should know the backend architecture. It could be an APK and iOS. It could be running on Android and iOS operating system, maybe application using SQLite database. There are other components as well, but to make it simple, just you can consider this part. Now, to clarify one thing, another thing, there are a lot of billions of mobile application there, uh, and some are the application that doesn't need the backend. Just if you download a calculator application, then calculator application doesn't need to send the request to a backend server and get the response. So depending upon the nature of the application, and just if you're using Facebook or Instagram, then they are constantly communicating with their backends. So depending upon the application, mobile application, it could be there could be zero traffic at the backend, and there could be numerous amount of traffic at the backend. Like banking applications, in banking applications, if you see the traffic, there is a lot of traffic that is going at the backend. So what is the backend? You see this right part of the diagram is showing the backend. Now, backend in a simple word, in a very simple in a very layman, if I want to explain you what could be a backend, just consider yourself as, okay, I want to develop a backend. So you will pick up a server from your data center, you will install an operating system, maybe Windows operating system, fine. Then you will install a web server, maybe IIS web server. That is this layer on this Windows operating system, you start IIS web server. Now you developed an API that could be in any language depending upon your requirement. So you developed that API and deployed that API on that web server. So development is another thing and deployment is another thing. So if you have a developed API and then you have deployed that API on that backend server. So in a very simple explanation, you install an operating system that is backend host server, maybe Windows. You on that operating system you install IAS, that is web server, and on that web server you have deployed an API that has been developed by some developer. So this is a part of the complete architecture that is in front of the user. Like I am a user, I am using this mobile phone and I have that application in front of me, and at the backend could be anywhere in the world. Like for example, there are millions of Facebook users. So if it is a Facebook and it is in front of me, and it is maybe in every continent people are using Facebook, but the server could be in America, maybe in different countries. So this is the design, and as the application gets bigger, design gets complicated, but this is the most simple design that could be uh, presented to you. And again, why I have presented, why I have invested sorry, why I have invested this 5 minutes on the design, because I want to highlight especially the people that are new in the industry, that mobile application hacking is just not this is not a tool that will do it. That will require an understanding how mobile applications are developed and what is the complete architecture. What is the application, what is the backend, how they communicate and all that stuff. So that is the image I want to create in your mind. So whenever you test a mobile application, or you want your applications to be tested by someone, so you should ask them that, okay, what are the components that are being covered in the testing. So this is the part of like this is a mobile application stack, the architecture, you can say. So in this thing, anything is unclear in this part, you can ask, because this is very important. So I just give you a few seconds, just think uh, over it and just ask. I will appreciate the questions. Please, if anything is unclear, please ask. And if everything is clear, just give me the go ahead. Is everything clear? Can we
Just
move?
yeah, let me ask you. So for this table, okay, with API backend or web server, backend host server. So this is in which I'll do the implementation test on these levels, right? Or am I?
Yes, because for example, if you hire me and you will give me an Android APK file, I can test only this APK file and give you a report. And you can ask me, okay, my application is like Facebook. It is most of the business logic is like communicating with the backend. So you can ask me the question, do you have tested the communication with the backend,
Yeah,
the vulnerabilities at the backend? So if you want to you want to take the service of VAPT, then you will ask them, okay, and you can also ask them, do you have tested our backend web server or host server?
mhm,
Usually people test Android APK and the web API and not the infrastructure, because
yeah,
if you test it from internet, this infrastructure is usually not accessible, only the API is accessible. So this is inside the organization. So usually people, the pen tester do the testing of Android APK, and then the backend, if the application is communicating uh, with the backend, and most of the application these days communicate with the backend. So this is how you are very right. You will see, you will ask about all the components are being covered in the pen test.
yeah. Clear, clear. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's move forward. Now you see, uh, let us talk about uh, common vulnerabilities. As we have seen that in mobile application, web application, there are different type of vulnerabilities. Now going into mobile application, there are other type of vulnerabilities. Just want to clarify that if we consider this complete architecture, the vulnerabilities in the web APIs are like similar to the uh, web application, and uh, talking about vulnerability, this is VAPT, and I mentioned that outcome of VAPT is either vulnerabilities or either misconfiguration. So if it is a VAPT mobile application, you will be getting vulnerabilities of mobile application and misconfiguration of mobile application. So you will be thinking, what are the vulnerabilities of mobile application? So just segregate these parts. Is if this is the part, this is the APK and IPA file. There could this will have different type of vulnerabilities, and web API are these vulnerabilities are just like web application vulnerabilities. So these are the common vulnerabilities in mobile application. Uh, you can see that insufficient authorization and authentication, binary protection, insecure storage, server side vulnerability, secure apps, source code, cryptography, proper certificate validation, insufficient session expiration. So now just giving a brief overview of them, because each vulnerability is itself very detailed. So um, sometimes uh, you may have heard the word of reverse engineering. Sometimes binaries are developed in an unprotected way. Just want to clarify one more concept, that the APK files and IPA files, that is Android and iOS application, are actually binary files. So, it, like the reverse engineering is an option that you can get a binary file and reverse engineer it and get the source code back. So it depends upon the developer and the protections. There could be protections that could be implemented in the binary, and it will make reverse engineering difficult. So it is quite possible that you have developed a mobile application with weak controls, and it allows an attacker to reverse engineer that binary. So there could be vulnerabilities at that level. Insufficient authorization, authentication means simply there is an application, is a login panel, you log in into the application, and authorization means that what is the rights that a user have. So sometimes it is possible to bypass the authentication. And just give you an example, in sometimes in Android applications, when you start an application, you see a login page. Now what happens that until you don't have the credentials, you can not access the other pages. We call these pages as activities in the Android nomenclature. Like for example, it's a website, these are web pages. But if going to the mobile application, we call them activities. This is a technical nomenclature of Android application. So uh, no, you open an application in your mobile phone and you see a login page. Now what happens that until you are able to log in the application, you cannot see the next activities, or you can just see next pages. Just for the simple explanation, you cannot see the next activities or pages of that mobile application. So there are vulnerabilities. Sometimes activities are unprotected, and it is quite possible that an attacker can access the activities without login. They can call the activities that are available after doing login of the application. So in this authentication could be bypassed. So insecure storage of information, that is very simple. For example, if there's a mobile application and it is storing some information in the SQLite database that is also in your mobile phone. Now what happened that it is storing the information in plain text. For example, application stores user credentials in mobile database, the SQLite database, and what happens that it is not encrypting the credentials. So anyone with access of the mobile phone can get these credentials. So it is insecure storage of information. Server side vulnerability, I as already explained, this is the server side. So these are more or less the vulnerabilities of web applications. Secure app source code, that is very important. Sometimes maybe you have heard that in mobile application, when you write the code, it is possible to do a randomization, and so that code, when people do reverse engineering, they see the code, but it is obfuscated. The technical name is obfuscation. So sometimes it is quite possible that you developed an application and you do not do any obfuscation, and it is possible that you developed an application and then you do obfuscation. So these are two possibilities. Obfuscation is a security control. So if you go with obfuscation, it is if someone reverse your application, then it is difficult for him to understand the source code. So it so there could be vulnerabilities at that level as well. There could be no obfuscation. There could be obfuscation, but with weak control. So this thing has to be considered in mobile application development perspective, mobile application security assessment perspective, and if you are a client and you have the mobile application, from that perspective as well. So that you should consider this point as well. Cryptography, no, nothing in this digital era is running without cryptography. Cryptography is everywhere. It is a deep down subject, but for a very, I can explain it in a very simple way. If mobile application is communicating with the backend, and if the communication is encrypted, yes, the mobile application is taking the support from the field of cryptography. Cryptography provides methods of encryption, techniques of encryption, algorithms of encryption. Cryptography provides algorithms for hashing. Cryptography provides algorithms for digital signature, and they have multiple. Cryptography provides multiple security components to the industry. So uh, in mobile application, there is a certificate validation concept, and mobile application validates a certificate of their backend. So if there is improper implementation, it could be bypassed, and traffic could be intercepted or impersonated, and there are a lot of attack vectors with this improper certificate validation. But this is a vulnerability that you will find in mobile application. We see lot of mobile application with improper certificate validation, or we see mobile application with no certificate validation at all. So we recommend them to it is a very good security control. So insufficient session expiration, very easy to understand. Like there is an application, either mobile application or a web application. If you log in into that application, a session is being made with the backend. So sometimes user logouts, but like it is quite possible that you log in again uh, without without needing the credentials. So this is like insufficient session expiration. Just want to give a few minutes on this topic as well. For example, you have a mobile application, you have a username and password, a login activity or page in front of you. After you log in, usually applications are designed in this way that the backend server assigns a session token. So it is easy to intercept that session token. Now sometimes it happens that after the user log out from the mobile application activity or the page, pressing logout, but the session token is active. So you can log in into the application again using this session token. Now you will you may be thinking that application have a username and password page. There is no session token option to type in. So from the user perspective, it is not possible for the user to type the session token in the username or password field. But from the pen testing perspective, we know how to make a request while using this session token. I will not go into the detail, but just want to show explain you that it is possible to use this session token, and there are different techniques and different tools, but we will not go into it. Just want to explain the idea that after login, if the backend server gives you a session, it is sometimes it has been seen that session is token is not expired and you can reuse it. So these are the common vulnerabilities related to mobile applications, and this is a big list, but just want to give an idea, and uh, s- so that just want to broaden your canvas. Now, I just um, I will I will be happy to if you ask questions. Otherwise, I will ask few questions from you just to want to see your concept. So now it's your choice that either you will ask question or other I will ask question. So I think let us see. I can see the players there in that session. So please ask questions, and I am also okay. Just think
For
about the
yeah,
question. Sure, sure, sure. Please ask.
yes, for the last point, insufficient session expiration. So as a user, like we cannot do anything, right? And we cannot know even if there is any sufficient in
Okay.
session expiration, right? As a user.
Ex- Exactly from the user perspective, user only knows how to use the application. This is the
Yes.
definition of user in front of me. But um, so for the user perspective, he will not know how to use this session, how
Mm.
to even get the session. But just want to just you have asked the question, just want to add few technical lines like for us what we will use bug suite to capture the traffic of mobile application to the backend. In this bug suite, this is a tool that will give us the request going in and out, in and out, in and out. In that request, we see session token, we see all the parameters. So this is you can also see that like Google this tool in the so you will see how it will show the request. So in these requests, we can get the session token, and this tool has a possibility to repeat the request. So if we have captured the request, for example, login, then register, then fund transfer, then all the activities are being done from mobile application are also being captured by Bursuit, and where Bursuit has the ability to replicate that request. So Bursuit will show us all the parameters that are going in and out. That is application using HTTP protocol. So all the requests are being in HTTP. So we will see this HTTP request and we will pick up the session token from there. We will replicate that request as well. So this is a pen tester desk, but user will have a mobile phone in front of him. He will have an application, so he doesn't know about this. That is why that is why people conduct VAPT because uh, we are the doctors that identify these vulnerabilities and explain them and recommend the fixes.
Okay. Thank you.
I have one question. Can anyone tell me what is a binary file? This is very
You mean the binary? What is the binary?
yes. What is a binary file? Just
Zero
giving
one.
you. Okay, just now let's move a little forward. This is consider your laptop. Okay, you have hundred of applications. You have Word files, you have PDF files. So what file could be you call it a binary file?
All system all read in 1 0.
Um, okay, if you create a notepad file
Hmm.
and you type your name in this file, you call it a binary file. Okay, let me answer. This is a very important concept. People usually do not understand what is binary file. Actually, now consider yourself as a developer. I am a developer, and I am developing an application, right? So, for example, I'm making a calculator. At the end of the development, I will make a calculator.exe file, and I will share it with you, and you will just double click and use the calculator. So these basically. Uh, This is actually a binary file. The code, all the files in your systems, all the software that are gone through the development process and are being compiled and converted into exe, these are binary files. Just giving an example, exe is not an only a single format that could be binary. In Linux, the Linux the extension is ELF, and there are other in different environments. Binaries could be different files, and now in mobile applications, if you get an APK file, you cannot open that APK file in any Word, Notepad, any editor tool, because it is a compiled file. So it is a binary file. So binary is not a word that is specific to APK. APK is also binary, because APK, what how you will get an APK? If you're a developer, you will open Android Studio, you will write code, then you will compile, and the Android Studio software will give you an APK file. So in similarly, if you are a desktop application developer, you will install Visual Studio, you will code, and compile. It will give you an exe file. So this is a binary file. So if you go to see Windows System 32, you will see a lot of exe files. These are all binary files. Try to open these files in any editor, you will see a garbage. Sometimes in software development, tell you very interesting thing. You can also create a DLL. If you have a Visual Studio in front of you, you can create an exe file as well, and you can create a DLL as well. So all the DLLs that are there are a lot of DLLs in a Windows file system. You can see, you can also see in your Windows operating system. These all are binary files. So binary means that uh, anything that is gone through a development process, and the outcome of that is a binary file, and you cannot see the binary file. You can open Notepad file, you can open Word files, you can see the content, but you cannot see the binary file. They are compiled. That is why binaries are being reverse engineered. You cannot open these binary files in Word and just see okay what is inside it, because these are being compiled. So look, in your free time, just try to experiment with, or try to open cmd.exe in Notepad plus plus. Try to in Notepad, try to open multiple DLL files in your Windows file system, because when you install Windows operating system, you get lot of exe files, you get lot of DLL files in default. So all these are binary files, and there are multiple. They exist in multiple extensions, but we will not go into detail. But just want to give you an idea. So this is binary, and in order to get back the source code, you will have to do the reverse engineering. Even if a system is infected with a malware, malware is sometimes usually is an exe file. So it is not possible that you can see the code and just drag and drop this file in Notepad and any other software. You have to do the reverse engineering. You have to see the code, and you have to understand the working. So these are basically binary files. And so I will not go into the detail, but I am hopeful that you will give an idea that just be practical, consider your laptop, consider your system, see your software, see your files, and then try to decide okay which are binary files, which are not the binary files. So in Linux, if consider yourself you are using Linux, then try to decide okay what could be a binary file. And just give you an example. Once I was taking an interview, there's a f- there is application cat in Linux. Cat is used to open a file. Like in Windows, you open a file in Notepad and Notepad plus plus, maybe in some other software. But cat, we open files in Linux. I asked, okay, I have someone that what is a binary file? Just give me an example of binary file in Linux. So even he was a user of Linux, but he doesn't know that the cat I am using for routine operations is a binary file. So just then any application or a software or any code that is being developed through a gone through development process and converted into a form that could not be seen with naked eyes, it is a binary file. So this is uh, uh, from my side. I think this is the question I want to ask, and now it's clear for you. Is it clear for you?
Yes, yes, clear.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much. Any other question? Any other question on architecture, vulnerabilities? Just always consider a mobile application. do not consider it a single entity. Just always consider a design. You there is a building, a lot of buildings and a lot of floors, and there are rooms. So there are multiple components in a building. Similarly, mobile application, web application, network device, a lot of components. Every component is important from the security perspective. So anyways, let us move forward. Common misconfiguration, there is a long list of misconfiguration, but just for the sake of explanation, uh, this is you know that you have developed a web application, or I am a developer, I have developed a web application that is very very secure, and I have given this application to you people. Now what happens, you register a user and you make a name with Abdullah and password 123. So maybe you register a user with Abdullah and without any password. So this could be uh, a this could be a misconfiguration that you have like there is no vulnerability in the application, but application provides you with all the flexibility, but developer is being forced that we need an application that can allow weak password. So he made that application, but now it's up your responsibility to make like to use a strong password. Or so this is a misconfiguration. And again, if you think of misconfiguration, consider this misconfiguration could be in APK file, consider this misconfiguration could be in SQLite DB. And one thing I want to tell you that uh, um, re- related to misconfiguration. For example, if you forget about the SQLite DB. For example, in my Windows machine, I installed Microsoft SQL, MS SQL, that is a database application. I installed that application. Now I have two options. I have an administrator account in my same laptop, which you see now. If I install that application, if I log in my Windows with an admin user and I install that application, MS SQL. If someone will compromise this SQLite DB, sorry, MS SQL DB in my Windows machine, it will get the administrator level access. No, other thing is that if I log in an application with a test user with a limited access right, now if someone will compromise the MS SQL in my Windows machine, he will get the limited user access level. So these are small misconfigurations that people make. And so there could be, the point I want to convey is that misconfiguration could be in any component, just like the vulnerabilities could be in any component. So what does it conclude? That you should be clear of the components of a mobile application, web application. With this, you can ask right questions if you want to get a pen test service, and if you want to do a pen test service. If you want to do a pen test, and you will be focusing on the components. So this is very important. um, for as I know, this is very important. That is a lacking area people miss this. So this is even if you get more expert, you will split these blocks into more categories. This design a mobile application. No, implication of vulnerability is a very simple. Implication could be at any level, mobile application level, mobile device like mobile phone level as well, and backend server level as well. So what could be at mobile application level? For example, if you have a banking application, if you have an social media application, what could be impact if there is a vulnerability in the mobile application, or if it is a misconfiguration in the mobile application? Authentication could be bypassed. I could log in into that application. If, for example, if I get a phone from any of the members that are listening to this presentation, and I have the access of this phone, I can log in into their application if they have vulnerabilities without knowing username and password. So this is authentication bypass. It is a result of misconfiguration or a vulnerability. And just remember which is the service in cybersecurity that will bring up the misconfiguration and vulnerabilities. That is a VAPT service for you. Privilege escalation, I have already explained. It could be horizontal and vertical. If it is a mobile application and uh, it has 1,000 customers like Facebook. So if I can log in uh, from my account to your account, it is a horizontal escalation. But if I log in into an admin user or super admin user, that is a vertical escalation. And it depends upon the vulnerabilities in the mobile application. So if there are vulnerabilities, what could be possible, authentication could be bypassed. We could escalate the privileges, and there are multiple effects Uh, I already explained an example of Android application that if there is for authentication bypass, there could be multiple like for example there are five vulnerabilities in a mobile application. The implication of all vulnerabilities are authentication bypass. For example, a mobile application has SQL injection vulnerability, so with this vulnerability you can bypass authentication. Now if a mobile application has insecure activities, with this you can bypass authentication. So there are a lot of techniques, there are a lot of vulnerabilities that result in a same thing, authentication bypass. Similarly, there could be vulnerabilities that may result in privilege escalation. So, and there could be multiple vulnerabilities that result in same privilege escalation. So, it is like the concept is like this. Multiple vulnerabilities could have a same impact, or different vulnerabilities could have different impact as well. So, at the mobile device level, as I already explained that mobile applications run over a mobile phone, and mobile phone is like Android and iOS. They have SQL-like database. So if the mobile application is not storing data insecurely into the database, what is possible? Yes, you can access the database. Now you can get the credentials as well. So this is and it is quite possible that the SQLite database in um, your mobile phone doesn't have the credentials. So maybe uh, with this way anyone can access the database and uh, get any useful information. And one interesting thing, you see, database corruption. I could, for example, if there is an application that is storing some financial records into the SQL database into your mobile phone. Now, if you can access the database, you can corrupt that data. For example, your account have $1,000, you can make it to 10,000, or you can decrease it to a zero. So database corruption is also possible, and authentication bypass. Usually, sometimes we have seen that application are storing username and credentials into the database. Then you can change the database credentials are being changed, and you can log in into the data. You can log in into the application with this technique. So at the database level, there could be different implications, and while application level, there could be different implications. And the backend server is the same. This is I am talking about. So if there is a vulnerability in the web, it could be possible that backend server could be compromised. We can get remote code execution, we can get file system access. And again, if someone can I want to just know the answer of this. If you know what is remote code execution, what is the concept of remote code execution? Can anyone explain? You can imagine, just explain me what you think on this. I will clear the concept. What is forever you will remember remote code execution.
It's about remote control PC or something like that. You can
Okay.
attack the PC from remote control. You
Okay.
take the control from the PC.
Okay. Anyone else have? Okay, I will give you a very very simple concept of this remote code execution. Consider two laptops in front of you. Imagine that on your table there are two laptops in front of you. You are using this laptop one, and the laptop two is on beside you. Now it is very easy that you log in into the laptop one, and you can do all the things you want to. You can do the code execution, you can do everything on this laptop. This is your laptop, but the other laptop that is beside you, it is not your laptop. So for you can do code execution, you can do everything if you log in into if you log in into go to log in into the laptop, but you don't have the credential. So if there is a vulnerability in laptop number two, and it makes you to execute a code uh, from laptop number one to laptop number two, it is called remote code executions. Remote means the other side. So sitting on laptop 1, I can execute code on laptop 2. Just broadening that example, sitting on my laptop, I can execute code on Facebook server. I can execute code on Instagram server. I can execute code on YouTube server. If I am in an organization, if this is my PC, I can execute code to Abdullah system. I can execute code to another one laptop, another one laptop. So this is the concept of remote. Sit in Sitting in front of my laptop, I am executing the code in the machines of other laptop. So this is basically, and if you're thinking what is code execution, for example, if you make a script, okay, a simple, PowerShell script, and you just run it, this is a code execution. Just give an example. There are a lot of code execution. If you have open a software in your laptop, there is, at the back end there is code execution. But if you make a malicious PowerShell script, you can execute this in your laptop. This is code execution, but you can do it in your laptop because it has you have the access of this laptop. But you cannot execute in laptop, Abdullah laptop, because you don't have the access. But what happens with VAPT, you identify the vulnerability and you exploit the vulnerability, and then you do a code execution and on the laptop number 2. And with code execution you can run malicious scripts, you can get the snaps, you can get, with code execution you can do anything. Code means that you want something, you have automated this thing. Like, I am a hacker, I want that, I need to get the pics, I need to get of ABC files, I need to delete users. I write it in a script and run that script on the other Abdullah's PC. So this is the concept of remote. Sitting in my machine, I can execute the code in other person machine. That is absolutely not possible if we are sitting in a room and we are sitting together. If there is no vulnerability, if I don't have the access of the Abdullah laptop, so how can I execute the code? Why I executed the code? I have identified the vulnerability and exploited the vulnerability. Then I have executed the code. Then definitely you can get the access and you can get the session. So this is the word remote. This is the concept I want to uh, uh, be clear. Very people try to explain it, but sometimes they don't have the clear understanding. They have a little cloud level understanding. So I want to clarify very clearly what does the word remote means. So, a file system access, um, in Windows file system, this all the drives, you can get any data in Linux file systems. Maybe you have used Linux. Linux is a complete file system, a home directory, an etc directory, and all the directory structure and with different purposes. So if you can, there could be vulnerabilities that only allow to read files from the file system. You cannot do anything else, but you can only read the files. So this could be an implication of that vulnerability.